Hello and welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you joining us today to talk about Lucid's very best integrations for streamlining team communication. I know I see lots of people joining as we go, so why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself in the chat? Tell me who you are, where you're joining from, and maybe what your role is so we can get a better sense of who we're chatting with today. And as you're typing that in, we'll get started by introducing ourselves. So my name is Kathleen. I work on our business development and strategy team. So I have the honor of being able to work with all of our great tech partners. And we're going to be talking a lot about how we integrate with some of those partners today. And I'll pass it along to Caro.
Awesome. Thanks, Kathleen. Hi, my name is Caro. I'm a product manager here at Lucid, and I work with our integration teams. We know how important Lucid is to all of your daily workflows, and we really want to bring that value closer to you and your teams, wherever you work. I'm really excited to share some cool tips and tricks with you all today to help you improve the way that you communicate with your teams using Lucid. I'll pass it over to Jackson.
Hey everyone, my name's Jackson. I'm a product marketing manager here at Lucid, previously a solutions engineer. So I'm really excited to talk to you about, something really close to my heart, communication within teams. I've been able to see, so many different things with different enterprise systems and how many tools we're using to communicate with one another. So really excited to talk about how we centralize that and make sense of, all of these different systems. Really excited to be here. We have some great panelists. And with that in mind, I'll pass to Amelia.
Very well put, all of you. My name's Amelia Shelton. I'm Group Product Manager of our developer platform and integrations team, and I get to work with all these lovely people.
Love it. Thanks so much, everyone. And thanks for joining. I'm seeing people from San Francisco, Georgia, Michigan, but I think Chris from Italy takes the cake for joining from afar. So thanks, Chris, for taking a bit of your evening to join us. We'll make it worth your while, I promise. Okay, so before we officially get started, I want to cover some housekeeping items. So first of all, I know the question on everyone's mind. This webinar is being recorded. So you can expect an email with a link to that recording within a day or two. It'll be sent to the email that you use to register. So you can watch it as many times as you want. You can share it with your team, all that good stuff. That email that we will send will also include some really great resources, including a blog post and some more information about all of our products and how they integrate with each other as well with all these great tools we're talking about today. And we really don't want this webinar to just be us talking at you. We're pretty fun, but we're not that much fun. So please jump in the chat, give us your questions, your thoughts, tell us what you're excited about, what you're confused about, all that good stuff. And speaking of questions, if you have any questions for our Lucid team, please use the Q&A section instead of the chat. This will just help us keep track and make sure that we're answering all of your fabulous questions. We'll be answering a bunch of questions live, but also we've got a great team that's going to be answering questions in that Q&A section as we go. Last but certainly not least, live captions are going to be enabled, or actually I think they already are enabled for this webinar. So go ahead and turn those on if you'd like to make it that much easier to hear what we're talking about today. Okay, with all the boring stuff, let's get into it. So today we are talking all about workplace communication, something that I know is always on our minds. With dispersed teams being the norm in today's workforce, a lot of conversations, if not all of them, are going to be happening online. There are definitely advantages to this. There's more accountability, there's better documentation. You can always go in and figure out what that one person said to you that one time, and you don't have to ask them. And so there's like great advantages, but there's also a lot of challenges that I'm sure you all know lots about when conversations are taking place across different tools and channels and all of that good stuff. So I'd love to hear from you. What apps or tools are you using to communicate in your workplace? Why don't you go ahead and drop your answers in the chat and we'll call out some that jump out to us. I see Slack already. Lots of Teams. Oh, we've got a Teams crowd here today. Slack, Teams, G Suite, love it. Teams with a frowny face. We'll talk about how we can make Teams fun, I think. Okay, so lots of different tools. What about I see lots of messaging apps, but what about like how you're tracking projects or things like that? Let me see what you're using for that. Smartsheet, I see, Jira, Asana, Loop. Love it. Okay, I love this energy, guys. For my fellow panelists, anything jumping out with all of this great activity in the chat?
Yeah, I love you asking the question about, other tools that we're using to communicate complex problems. I think even going back to like Excel or Sheets, tracking budgets, trying to tell the story with multiple, forms of information, bringing that all together, I think is really critical in that. We may communicate in text format over Slack or Teams, but oftentimes we're sharing documentation along with that to like strengthen or convey bigger messages. So I love what we're seeing here. I mean, we're seeing Jira, Confluence, Teams, Outlook, sometimes we even overlook, email. I think we've all gotten really used to, all of the instant messaging that takes place, in tech. So really cool to just see the vast solutions that people are using to communicate.
Love it. Yeah, thanks, Jackson, and thanks everyone for telling us what you're using. And I would say from your chat and from our own research, we're seeing a lot of trends. It seems like most of you are using a bunch of different communication tools for different purposes. And these responses actually align quite nicely to a survey that Lucid commissioned, which found that 45% of workers use 5 or more productivity applications at work. And the more tools you use, the harder it is to share and, of course, find the information or updates you need. That same survey actually found that 47% of workers really can't find a good standardized way to share documents across their tech stack. So, how do you connect those pieces and all those different tools? And of course, without a standardized way, to communicate across tools, the more likely it is that you'll miss super important communications or you'll waste time trying to hunt down that project information. 45% of workers actually find that not all relevant teams are kept in the loop, which hinders alignment and impedes progress. So maybe the wrong person is missing from a Slack or Teams channel, or the wrong person isn't in the Jira instance, so they don't get those updates. That's always so tricky. I know that a lot of us have felt these effects in one way or the other, or maybe in many other ways. So Jackson, I'd love to know what your experience has been with this.
Yeah, absolutely, Kathleen. I think these stats really hit home for me, and really thinking about, maybe you have your main project plan in Lucid. There's project-related conversations taking place in Slack, some feedback on actual product deliverables, maybe in a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. It really gets hard to keep track of all of those different communications, where the right places to put it, and really how you bring it all together. So I think all of this is really relevant to what we all feel when we're trying to communicate with big groups.
Totally true, Jackson. Thanks for bringing that up, especially this idea of bringing it all together. At Lucid, we know very well just how valuable visual collaboration is for communicating effectively. It helps clarify complex information, it allows teams to work together in ways that other communication tools just can't quite do. But also, Lucid isn't the only tool. We use all it, even within Lucid, we use lots of these different tools that we're talking about today. We know that Lucid isn't the only tool you're going to use to communicate, and we also know from your responses that you're using other communication tools just like we are. So we don't expect Lucid to meet every team communication need. Our goal is to work where you work, make your life easier, not harder, and our integrations have made it so that you can naturally incorporate Lucid into your existing workflows. We offer more than 100 integrations. We're not talking about all of them today, but we offer them to industry-leading apps to improve everything from documentation to productivity. So today, what we are going to be talking about are some of our most powerful ones specifically for communication. So we're going to talk about Microsoft Teams, which I think, given the chat response, you're going to be happy about. We'll talk about Slack as well, some really cool stuff with Google Workspace, Zoom, and then what's going to be really interesting is we'll chat about interactive whiteboards and how they can help communication in the office. The best part about all of these integrations is you don't have to change your entire working style. We wouldn't want you to, we wouldn't expect you to. We're just going to talk about how you can use these integrations to really help improve those communications. And we're super excited about it. So Jackson, can you kick us off?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kathleen. Now, I want to start with something fundamental. Building something meaningful is very rarely ever a straight line. It's really this continuous loop of planning, ideating, designing, and iterating, much like, running a marathon. You have to plan for the 5K, the 10K, and kind of build your way there. And we kind of go back to the starting ground to continue to retrain. But here's the thing, these stages really don't exist in silos. brainstorming doesn't stop when task planning begins. They often overlap and flow and evolve together. And that's why Lucid integrations are designed to reduce that friction, increase visibility, and help teams maintain that momentum from one stage to the next. Really bringing it into a unified canvas allows you to have a central place to be able to jump into connected ideas or tools that the teams are using to convey those ideas. Now, I want to dive into one of our most used integrations, Microsoft Teams. So in Microsoft Teams, Lucid is not just another tool. It becomes part of the way you collaborate, whether you're brainstorming with sticky notes, voting on ideas, or building vision boards, really to bring that strategy to life. Everything happens seamlessly when you combine Microsoft Teams with Lucid. We have an embedded functionality that allows you to actually leverage the Lucid toolset directly within Teams, being able to add content, collaborate together, and really create this open forum for water cooler environments directly in your communication application. Now, imagine moving from a team brainstorming session directly into a sprint plan, all without leaving Teams. And that's really where Lucid shines. It's not just in visualizing your ideas, but in helping you follow through on them. Now, Caro, can you tell us a little bit about how that integration works?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jackson. So our goal with this integration was really clear. We wanted to make collaboration feel effortless, brainstorming, planning, executing, all within one connected space. But more importantly, we wanted to make sure that teams could focus on progress, not perfection. So imagine you're in the middle of a high-energy brainstorming session in Lucid. Ideas are flowing, sticky notes are piling up, and connections are being drawn in real time. At that moment, the last thing you want to do is leave that space to assign tasks in a separate system or copy over notes in another tool. So with Lucid being so deeply embedded into Microsoft Teams, those next steps can happen right there in the same space where the ideas came to life. So for example, you can add mentioned team members on a sticky note to notify them directly in Teams. This keeps the conversation centralized, updates organized, and tasks clear for everyone involved. You can also pin important documents and updates in a persistent centralized space. So teams can save their favorite resources, log ongoing project updates, or even host engaging one-on-ones, all using Lucid within Microsoft Teams. So let's watch a quick demo that showcases this deeper functionality with Microsoft Teams.
Hi there, I'm excited to show you the new and improved Lucid integration with Microsoft Teams, which now includes real-time notifications. Let's take a look at how it works. This integration empowers your team to collaborate visually and get work done wherever they are. Microsoft Teams provides a powerful space for collaboration, combining meetings, calls, and now Lucid Spark's visual tool all in one place. And to help you stay even more connected with real-time notifications, you'll get alerts in Teams whenever someone mentions you in a document or invites you to collaborate. In Lucid Spark, you can easily organize ideas into actionable next steps by tagging, gathering, and sorting. One of my favorite ways to organize Lucid documents is by pinning it to a specific Teams channel, so it's easier to find and make adjustments to later. You can pin any Lucid document as a tab in your Teams channel, keeping key resources just a click away. For real-time brainstorming, this integration leverages our embedded editor, giving you the full Lucid experience directly within Teams.
Awesome. Yeah, so as you saw in the demo, everything really stays in sync, whether you're working in Lucid or in MS Teams. No one's left wondering if they have the latest version or if something slipped through the cracks. So let's talk about another way that Lucid helps teams connect the dots between tools with embedded links. Jackson, back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Caro. When we talk about that collaboration taking place across different tools, it's not just about having everything in one place, but it's really also making it easily accessible and visually connected, being able to tell that story across multiple systems that, are supporting our workflow. This is where embeddable links really comes in. But I want to clarify upfront, these are not just bookmarks. They're actual editable interactive windows in the tools. You can simply click on a Google Doc, possibly open it up, add some agenda information, or maybe another team member drafted up some, background stories, voice of the customer ceremonies that, you want to be able to collaborate and expand on with the team. We can open those and edit them in real time, making sure that, everything stays connected in those really intentional spaces. So let's actually walk through this a little bit. You might, imagine you're prepping for a Q4 strategy meeting. Your team has a Google Doc for notes and a Microsoft Excel sheet with data and reference diagrams in Lucid. With those embeddable links, they can really live in one board. You're not just seeing the information, but you're interacting with it. So let's actually take a look at the Google Doc for meeting notes. You can actually click on it, open it, and edit directly. I'm actually leveraging the functionality of connected tools within the Lucid suite, adding agenda items and additional functionality within those tools. Again, this is just a window without having to open another tab. I can easily close it out and then open other tools. They're really not isolated tools anymore. They're part of this unified connected workspace where everything stays in sync and everyone's on the same page. Again, it's not just about reducing the clicks, but really reducing that cognitive load. Instead of jumping between tabs and tools, you really have everything right in front of you, right when you need it. Now, collaboration doesn't stop once the plan is mapped out. We talked about that continuum that, this is, really kind of that ebb and flow where we're brainstorming, building, going back and, grabbing from the sandbox again. And so I think that as projects come to life, it's really important to notice that, oftentimes you'll notice new stakeholders who need to be brought in for their input or their expertise. And that collective input is incredibly powerful. Specifically calling out that if you can encourage that within your teams, both synchronously and asynchronously, it becomes even more powerful, allowing people to have that private space to think and build, but also work alongside each other to, make great things happen. So whether it's a quick check-in, an update, or a decision that needs input from your team, Slack also makes it really great to keep those conversations moving effortlessly. So I want to talk a little bit about our integration with Slack and how we make that happen. Now, one of the things I love most about our Slack integration is how easy it is to share documents directly in Slack channels or with other teammates. It's one of those simple yet really impactful shifts that make conversations more intentional and easy to follow up. Sometimes the simplest things are the most impactful things. So just showcasing to you within Lucid, we have our share modal in the upper right-hand corner where you can actually define what the experience is for participants in a board. From here, you can add, users or specific Slack channels. You'll notice here that, we signify that with the logo here. Once you click on the channel that you're wanting to share with, you can then define what their experience is. Sometimes we want to convey those ideas and get people to have contextual knowledge, but not, add additional, alterations to the document. You have ultimate control over that here in the sharing modal, whether you want them to only be able to view it and not alter it, or if you really want some big room planning and brainstorming, we can invite everyone in so that, no single person has to be the loudest person in the room. You can collect information from multiple people from a simple share like this. And it's all centralized in the tools you're already using today. A few other things that are really good to point out is that beyond just sharing documentation, notifications are front and center. We can keep updates visible and actionable right where those conversations are already taking place. We don't want to add additional noise to your day. We want to centralize it. We want you to want to help you make sense of it. You can also pin or bookmark critical documents. Personally, I have a one-on-one doc with my manager linked in a shared thread. It's great for us to have a jumping point so that way, it's easily referenceable. We can come in each week and capture real-time updates.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Jackson. Sometimes the simplest things are really the most effective. Whether it's sharing a document in a channel, pinning it for quick access, or getting notifications exactly where you're already working, those small efficiencies really add up fast. We feel that every day. But here's the thing, notifications and updates are really only part of the story. In our day-to-day work, we've all really come to expect text-rich notifications that give us immediate context at a glance. And that's become a core expectation. So whether we're catching up on threads or jumping into shared links or scanning for updates in a really busy channel. So because of this mindset shift, we've worked hard to meet users right where they are. So meeting them directly in the tools that they already use. And our goal with that is to really reduce cognitive fatigue, which I'm sure you all are feeling, and make it easier to maintain momentum no matter what's on your plate.
Yeah, I love that, Caro. It really reminds me of something that I'm also really passionate about, automation, smart home automation, anywhere we can, get contextual knowledge or have things happen in a really human-centric way. And at Lucid, we're always thinking about, how we can keep that moving forward. One of the ways we actually do that is with our Lucid AI summaries. So, we've actually added this contextual knowledge where it captures what's in the content of your Lucid document. And whenever you share a document with others, it makes it easier for the recipient to quickly understand what they're about to jump into. But also, the sender spends less time explaining what's going on in the document. All that contextual knowledge is automatically shared at a quick click of the button, saving people time and bringing people up to speed faster. So I actually want to play this video and walk through how this works in real life.
And whenever you share a Lucid document in Slack, you'll also have the option to summarize it with AI. This is great for providing an overview to your colleague before they actually jump into the document, and is particularly helpful when working with bigger boards and diagrams. That about covers the essentials to set up your integration and use its unique features to collaborate and communicate effectively.
Now, Lucid AI summaries really are such a game changer. They take the guesswork out of shared documents, giving teams that instant clarity and keeping everyone aligned and focused on what matters most. Understanding the ideas that we're conveying visually are clear and that they're actionable. With that in mind, we're always forward thinking about how we can maintain, that human-centric function and bring teams together to, make action a little bit more sustainable, a little more clear, and also more collaborative. As we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we use so many different tools to communicate how we're continually working, together, and we're building out new integrations all the time. Stay tuned to hear more about our integration with Google Chat coming very soon.
Thanks so much, Jackson. Yeah, I am super excited about that Google Chat integration. Keep an eye on when we'll announce it soon. So we just saw a bunch of really great ways to centralize communication, to stay aligned and share updates and insights asynchronously. But there's this whole other side of the story that we need to talk about, which is how we work together in real time to create those insights in the first place. So that leads us to our next category of integrations, a personal favorite of mine, which is interactive whiteboards. Whether your team is fully remote, in office, or likely somewhere in between, the way you collaborate in real time is just as important as the way you share those outcomes. And let's be honest here, verbal brainstorming and physical whiteboarding and spontaneous ideation are where some of the best ideas are born. But here's the reality. Not everyone can always be in the room, whether they're remote or they're traveling or just unavailable. It's so easy for team members to miss out on those really key organic moments of collaboration when everything happens solely on a good old-fashioned dry erase whiteboard. And that's where Lucid's integrations with interactive touchscreen whiteboards bridge the gap. We can combine the energy of in-person brainstorming with the flexibility of digital collaboration so that everyone, no matter where or when they are, they can contribute and stay aligned no matter. So Amelia, can you share a bit more about these integrations?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kathleen. So here's how it works. Within a web conferencing platform on a large touch-enabled device, teams can join an existing Lucid document or start a new one right from the device itself. It's as seamless as grabbing a marker, but with infinite possibilities. For teams with both in-person and remote members, this creates a truly equal playing field. Everyone contributes on a shared digital canvas in real time, regardless of where they are physically. Without these integrations, hybrid meetings can feel really disjointed, like remote attendees are watching a movie or not participating in the action. But with Lucid, everyone has a seat at the table. And the best part, persistent digital documentation. Your brainstorm doesn't disappear when the meeting ends or when you leave the conference room. It's saved, shareable, and ready to revisit whenever you need it. Now, let's show you some of the platforms that bring this experience to life. Kathleen, over to you.
Thanks so much, Amelia. Yeah, I really love how these integrations don't just enhance collaboration, they don't just make things more fun in meetings, they don't just make things more engaging. They actually truly remove the barriers between remote and in-person team members. Everyone feels a lot more connected and aligned because of these integrations. So here's where the magic happens. We are paired with a bunch of awesome web conferencing software partners and interactive whiteboarding hardware partners, including Google Meet, Zoom, Cisco, Neat, Avocor, and the Microsoft Surface Hub. So basically, whatever hardware you use and whatever software you use for your meetings, odds are we integrate with it and we can bring it to the in-person experience. And these platforms really are the best of both worlds. That in-person spontaneity and that digital flexibility and creativity just really helps your team collaborate, create, and stay connected effortlessly. And speaking of bringing those spaces to life, let's actually take a look at a real-world example of how this might work. Amelia, can you walk us through this?
Sure thing. So imagine you're leading a quarterly planning session in a hybrid meeting. You've got team members in the room using a Google Meet device and others joining remotely from their laptops. Everyone is collaborating on the same Lucid document, adding sticky notes, drawing connections, and sketching out ideas in real time. And when the meeting wraps up, the documentation lives on, ready for next steps, follow-ups, and asynchronous alignment. It's collaboration without compromise, and it's a game changer for teams navigating the realities of hybrid and in-person work. Now, let's walk through what the walk-up and whiteboard experience looks like. Here you can see an example of how this might look. We designed this to be as intuitive as possible, just like walking up to a dry erase whiteboard, except with Lucid, it's so much more. Picture this, you walk up to one of these devices and instantly start collaborating on a new board. You can easily jump right into brainstorming, mapping out ideas and sketching out concepts, or open an existing Lucid board to overlay ideas and contributions as part of a big room planning session. You can also start a web conferencing call right from the device and invite remote collaborators to your session to support your hybrid team. It's seamless, fast, and eliminates any friction so your team can get right to work. Now let's talk about what happens after the meeting wraps up. Unlike traditional dry erase whiteboards where ideas can be erased or lost, Lucid gives you the ability to save your progress and continue collaborating from any device. Before you leave the session, you can choose to save your board or delete it if you don't want it anymore. Enter your email address to claim the board so you can access it later and share it with your team. This ensures that nothing gets left behind and your brainstorming session can continue whenever and wherever you need it. Finally, claiming your board couldn't be easier. After you've entered your email address, you'll receive an email with a link to claim the board. Simply click the link and the board is yours in your Lucid account, ready to revisit, update, or share with others. This makes it simple to transition from in-person collaboration to ongoing asynchronous work without missing a beat. The walk-up and whiteboard experience is all about breaking down barriers to collaboration, whether your team is brainstorming in a room together or contributing from around the world. It combines the spontaneity of in-person ideation with the power of digital inclusion and digital persistence, keeping ideas alive, aligned, and actionable. Kathleen, back to you.
Thanks so much, Amelia. Yeah, hopefully you all can see that we see the word communication as a really broad idea. We see communication as this idea of talking on Slack and Teams and Google Chat. We see Teams as that supernatural, organic, in-person conversation. We see communication as video calls. We see communication as what we're doing right now. And our product teams have been so hard at work building some really great integrations to just supercharge all of those different types of communication. So we've covered a ton of ground today, from seamless integrations in Slack and Teams to real-time collaboration on interactive whiteboards. And it's just so cool. I can't emphasize this enough to see how those integrations bridge the gap between in-person and remote collaboration. They just truly create spaces where teams can think big and stay aligned effortlessly. At the end of the day, our work is all about creating clarity, connection, and momentum in your team's communication. And if you're excited to dive deeper, and I hope you are, into what we've shared today, we've got some fantastic resources lined up for you. The Lucid Integrations Marketplace is where you can explore over 100 integrations. Remember, I told you we're not covering them all today, but I think you'll want to take a look at what else we can offer. So that's all available to see how else you can integrate Lucid and your team's favorite tools. Next is the Lucid Integrations Guide, where you can learn how integrations can improve communication, documentation, and productivity across all of your workflows. And last but certainly not least, and my personal favorite, is the Lucid community, where you can join an active and really fun and encouraging and happy space where you can ask questions, you can share tips, and connect with other Lucid users. It's been such a great area for even me to learn lots about some great Lucid best practices. So we'll be sending all of these resources along with a recording of this webinar straight to your inbox in the next few days. So please keep an eye out for that. And with that, let's open the floor to some Q&A. I know you've been asking lots of great questions throughout the webinar, but let's chat about some live. So please feel free to keep adding questions and let's keep the conversation going. Before we jump into that though, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's always so fun to talk about integrations in Lucid and how we can help. Okay, so first question I see is the Teams integration only with Lucid Spark, or does it include Lucid Chart? Carol, I'm going to bounce that one over to you.
Yeah, what a great question. We actually have integrations both for Lucid Chart and Lucid Spark. So if you have access to your Microsoft Teams marketplace, you can search for Lucid and you should see both Lucid Chart and Lucid Spark integrations pop up.
Love it. Love it. Okay, and another Teams question. I'm going to hold on to you for a little bit, Caro. So it seems like Teams has addressed, it seems like Lucid has addressed the Teams frustration maybe of opening an Office doc and which makes you have to go outside of the channel. Would you say that's accurate, Caro?
Yeah, so we actually have a pretty robust integration with different depends on kind of which feature you use, but we do have the ability to pin tabs for Lucid documents inside of a Teams channel. And the great thing about that is that one, that tab is always accessible within that channel, and two, you can actually live collaborate directly from that tab without having to leave Teams and opening up a separate browser tab or anything like that. So you can stay within your Teams channel, collaborate directly then and there.
Love it. Love it. Okay, next question. And maybe this is one for you, Amelia. So does our whiteboard device, or one of them at least, integrate with a Teams room setup? This person says their company has spent, I think, $5 signs, so lots of dollar signs, establishing Teams rooms at their facilities. So they want to figure out, can we bring Lucid into that device?
That's not something that we currently support, but I would love to talk to you after this webinar and learn a little bit more about your use case and learn about you as a customer.
Yeah, so we'll reach out there. Next question is, how does our integration work between Smartsheet and Lucid? We didn't quite touch on the project management area, but any of our panelists want to give a little sneak peek into Smartsheet?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Being that we use Smartsheet, here internally and working with cross-functional teams, it's really important to be able to have space to build out, mood rooms or, timelines in line with different projects. Oftentimes, have to flesh out, what items need to be converted into action within Smartsheet. You can actually create new rows in Smartsheet directly from Lucid. Or I've also personally been able to take tasks that I'm building new ideas around, and I can center it around that. So, taking that, importing it into a Lucid document, I can add sticky notes around it that I'm still really fleshing out, what the root action is. And once I know what it is, I can actually click on the Smartsheet card on the canvas and alter the rows to reflect, kind of those next steps. So whether you're using it to update in real time within Smartsheet, or you're using it as like a sandbox where you can build around it. Personally, I've worked in Jira, I've worked in Azure DevOps, I've worked in Smartsheet, knowing that those tools are incredibly powerful for managing projects and staying accountable to your times or your timelines. It's really great, but I also find myself hesitant to make changes in it when I'm not absolute. It's like a master bank account where until I know exactly what needs to be done, I'm hesitant to load it into those systems. So Lucid really gives me a great sandbox environment to play with different mediums or context. Maybe other teams are coming in and giving me feedback, or maybe I'm connecting variables that haven't been logged yet. Doing all of that work visually really makes sense in my mind. It doesn't fit a linear format that so many of these text editors really support, especially for creatives, really kind of calling out there to creatives, you need that fluid environment to be able to overlay those ideas before we harden them or solidify them in something like Jira or Smartsheet. That's really my own personal notion to it, but I hope that helps, paint some clarity on it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jackson. Okay, another question for you, Kara, and I think you'll like this because I know your team built our Teams integration with this in mind. So the question is, when I share a document via Teams, can I still determine who in Lucid can edit and who in Lucid can edit and who can just read or view that Lucid document?
Yeah, great question. So again, there's a lot of meat to our integration. So if you are, I mentioned earlier, you can pin Lucid documents within MS Teams. The cool thing about that is when you're pinning a document within a channel, it actually gives everybody in that channel edit access. So it'll essentially give the key to the document, if you will, to everybody who's part of that channel. If you want to control access to the document a little bit more granularly, you can always share the document as a link inside of the channel, which will give you a nice preview of the document, and then users can go and open the document outside of MS Teams. And then at that point, you have full control over who should have view access, comment access, or edit or even edit and share access. So you can use our share modal, and I know Jackson demoed the share modal a little bit earlier. If you're not familiar with it inside of Lucid, where you can really set these granular permissions on a user by user basis.
Okay, last but certainly not least, unless we see any other questions come in, and I really like this one because it shows me you're thinking about the bigger picture of how you can integrate. So the question is, and maybe this is for any panelist who's interested in answering, is what are some other ways that Lucid supports asynchronous communication? There's so many ways, so you'll have to choose your favorite.
Oh man, that is a hard one. There are so many things that I genuinely get excited about. I'm gonna start with our visual activities. I think they are an incredible way to gauge sentiment, feedback, progress, just general feelings of a big group. You can think of like a visualized survey, adding different GIFs to represent emotions or sentiment or progress. Having this embedded visual activity allows team members to come in at any time and log how they're feeling or how we're progressing, with our tasks. I think it's great because it allows people to, kind of send upstream insight to other team members while also giving them the flexibility to share that information when it makes sense to them. If you're working with multiple different time zones, but it also really gives you an opportunity as a leader to encourage, more cross-pollination. You're supporting psychological safety in the workplace. I think that is one of the easiest, most actionable ways you can bring more engagement within teams. And if it's not for sentiment, we have some great icebreakers so that people can judge, which chocolate bars they like the most. If you're just trying to get a shy group to start, talking, speaking up, I think that's a really, really great tool.
Love it. Any other favorites from the Lucid folks?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Jackson. I think our visual activities are just so fun, and can really lighten up any meeting, which is awesome. But I also just want to reiterate, I know Jackson went over our embedded links, with our Google suite as well as with Microsoft OneDrive. So I really want to reiterate how powerful that can be. I know, all of those tools have their own ability to add comments, but it's a very linear format, right? So like you add a comment and then you start threads within these tools, which is great, but oftentimes our work spans multiple different files and tools, right? So it's not, we're not, even just preparing for this webinar, right? We're not just working inside of a Google Doc, for example. We're working across tools, and so having these different files and pieces of information embedded in a Lucid document, and having the ability to really freeform add comments, annotate, right, add mention people, it really just unlocks that whole power of asynchronous communication. And so I know it was mentioned earlier, but I just want to reiterate that's been in my, my own workflows has been a huge time saver, and just, really reduces that cognitive load.
Yeah. Good transition to another question that we just got in the chat, a question from David, which is how can Lucid help find all of the information that gets lost in Teams?
I want to take that one. I love this one because I always talk about the power of intentional space, and Lucid has such a great opportunity to leverage maybe even our templates for one-on-one docs or team spaces. So if you're not familiar with team spaces in Lucid, team hubs, absolutely check that out. It's a shared space amongst, a large group where you can create a water cooler environment with things like favorite resources, a roster so that team members can get to know each other a little bit more. The reason why I recommend doing that is because you can actually pin external resources or favorite bookmarks that team members need to have. Maybe they're help center articles that help you do your job effectively. Maybe they're standard operating procedures that are going to help you with onboarding new teammates. There's so many different resources that we use, that we frequently have to refer back to. I have my own set of bookmarks, but they're private to me. And oftentimes I want to be able to take those bookmarks and share them with the broader team. And so creating a space where team members can come in and create a dashboard of resources is going to make it easier for everyone to share in real time, cross-pollinate information, and keep information updated. Pinning that in a Teams channel, as we mentioned, you can embed the functionality of Lucid within a Teams channel. They can then open that, and that becomes a standard practice when team members are working together. Whenever they're looking for something, having a place that they know they can refer back to and look for resources and maybe find new things that other team members are doing that will help them is an incredible way to instill, kind of that continuous collaboration with your team in Teams.
Yeah, love it, love it. Okay, I think we're just about out of questions and just about out of time. So really, really great timing. Of course, we are always here on the community and through our support team if you ever have any questions for us in the future. We love chatting with you guys. So thank you all one more time for coming. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and hope you enjoy using some of our fabulous integrations. Thanks, everyone.